We are the robots after all, robots. We are the robots after all.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Robots After All.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Tom, and this week we're talking about the Zelda franchise, The Legend of Zelda, and
It's a big one.
Yeah, everything in between. So where do we start this off?
1985 with the first one, I think, is probably the one I'd want to talk about first.
Yeah.
So let's start with your experience. How did you get introduced to Zelda? Did you play the first game on NES?
Yes, I did play the first game on NES. I'm not the memory of it isn't very clear to me, but I do remember we got an NES from my parents. I think more specifically, my mom gave it to us. But then I think one of my brothers, I believe one of my oldest brothers bought Legend of Zelda, and it was just, I remember seeing like the gold cartridge, and that was enough. I was sold on it. And you got the little sword, which is always funny because you see the intro and it's this big epic intro, and you have that theme song come up, and even like it has like the story that it tells, and it shows all the items. But then you see like this rapier go through, which you never even see in any of these games. Back then and now, it's like just this fancy looking sword go through the names. And yeah, I just remember loving it, and it's just like the mystery behind the gameplay, because it's like you're not being like spoon fed. And I feel like a lot of NES games you weren't really being spoon fed because the difficulty level, but this one it's like you can go wherever you want. It's like an overworld experience. You can go into little notches. You can find tons of secrets, a bunch of different items. And I remember one of my biggest memories is my brother actually drawing a map of each television frame. So when you're going from frame to frame, he actually drew a map, and I remember having it for the longest time. And then I don't know what happened to it, which was kind of sad, but
Which I think was a common thing, because I actually I have the original map from the original game that I drew in the different sections. There's a little graveyard.
oh, the ones that they didn't show.
Yeah, it was like a little secret area. So all the secret areas, they would basically kind of just like have blank squares, and you had to draw it in yourself. So
cool.
You go screen by screen and then try to draw it. But yeah, to your point, most NES games we had played up until that point, and I really only remember the first Super Mario Brothers, maybe Mario 3. I don't even know if Mario 3 was really out. Well, it definitely wasn't out, but as far as kind of, we were a little bit, those games would have already come out because just of like our age when the NES came out. But yeah, it just it was so much larger in scope. Like Mario, you just run right. When you start Zelda, you have no idea what you're in for. It's just like, what kind of game is this? How long is this game? Like, how many screens? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be like, what, 10 screens, 20 screens, 50 screens? And there's actual dungeons you're going into, which like was a first concept that I think I had really experienced. So yeah, it was another world.
So did you play it when it came out on the NES?
Well, it wouldn't have been when it came out, because I would have been 3. So
when did it come out?
85. It came out in 85.
Okay. So yeah,
So
I would also.
Yeah, we were both pretty young. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we might have had it like in a collection, maybe in like the late 80s or like early 90s kind of thing.
It's funny because I don't even think about that. I kind of think that it was new to me at the time.
Right.
But at the time it had already been out, so maybe my brother got it when it was cheaper. And yeah. Wait, I thought it didn't. When did NES come out? I thought it came out in like 89 or something.
No, it was like 80. I want to say it was 83 or 84.
Okay.
And then and I might actually be wrong. What if it says the date on the cartridge? So I have the original gold cartridge, and I have it.
Oh,
It's like the original like hard cases that you used to buy like to take care of the games you really cared about.
Things. I have a bunch of them for Game Boy.
Yeah, 1985. It says right on the back of the cartridge.
So it says 83 in Japan it came out. So it must have came out a few years Oh, 86 it came to America, the NES as a system.
Oh, okay,
And,
that makes sense then.
and then Zelda. Oh my gosh.
I was really young when I played it. I mean, it was to the point where I remember my dad having to help me with certain parts of it, just because I remember getting toward the end and not being able to beat Ganon, and he had to tell me about like the silver like light arrow that you have to go get in order
Oh
to.
yeah. See, I don't even remember if I even ever beat that game. Like I don't know if I actually ever beat it, but I just remember playing the hell out of it, not caring what I was doing, just having a blast exploring the area. I remember I would always just try to bomb all these different spots to see if there were
Yeah.
secret caverns
Yep.
or pushing blocks. That game made you addicted to pushing blocks and like blowing stuff up to find secrets because there was like so much fun about it. Is this that the level of exploration in that game um, just was
Yeah,
very fun.
it was amazing. I actually remember accidentally hitting like a boulder or something and it moved and it blew my mind because it was like it was an accidental thing that I found. I didn't, like there were no, especially when you're first turning it on, like even as a kid, like even if you did have the game guide, you're not really digging into the game guide first. You just want to play the game. So I would just play the game forever. And I remember hitting up against the block, it moved and there was stairs that went down. And from then on in, I was just like trying to move every single block. And I think the same thing happened with burning the bushes, where I started trying to burn all the bushes, and you had to try to like manage your
Oh, that's
magic so you
right.
wouldn't
Yeah.
run out of the ability to burn the bushes. And yeah, it was the first, it was the Skyrim of its time. It was the first game where you just kind of like start the game, you go into the first cave, they give you a sword, and he's like, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this,
Yep.
and then you're off, and you just like, certain areas you don't want to go to, like with Mola or Zola. It was
Oh,
like
some of those.
it was before the Zoras, but that's essentially what it was supposed to be. It was like a water creature. It would like spit the little light ball at you.
Yeah, some of those areas are get kind of crazy. I remember being overwhelmed a lot by those spider jumping areas. But yeah, I remember the yeah that area specifically. And just the overall like the sounds in that game and the music were so iconic, especially when you shot the blade and it's just like that that cool sound.
Oh, the fact that you had the ability to have like a projectile off of your sword blade was just magical.
And it wasn't like too much. They dumbed it down enough where you're not like having kind of this super um uh crazy level of detail that you would in say like a RPG or something that may have came around the same time. It was simple enough where you're just playing by yourself, exploring, doing all the fun stuff you want to do in a Zelda game, saving Princess Zelda.
Yeah, that was a common misconception that the main character was called Zelda. We were always
I
like
don't know
arguing
what
with
they're
kids in
thinking.
school.
They should have just called it Legend of Link, man. And that's it.
Well,
You
the
get
next game they fixed that. The Adventures of Link.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, and they went to side scroller, and I hated it. I couldn't even get through like the first 45 minutes without shutting it off. I had such a hard time with it.
It's funny that they decided to take that and what they had was so amazing for the first game and then do like a side-scrolling adventure.
Yeah.
Obviously, they still had the overworld where you're the tiny mini Link and you run around and then you get into like battles. Like they were trying to do like a Final Fantasy combo thing almost where you'd get
But it was before all that.
actually Dragon Quest, I feel like more so because you have the enemies kind of chase after you if you're running around for too long. What were you
Yeah.
saying?
I want to say I'd have to look up the timeline on that, but the very first Dragon Quest, which was called Dragon Warrior. Well, I guess it really matters which one came out in first in Japan. I'm almost positive that Adventures of Link, I remember playing before the first Dragon Warrior, but they
Okay.
probably came out around the same time. But the point is that those ideas were very early. Having that overworld, trying to do like an RPG style experience where the overworld is allowing you to traverse more ground, and then you kind of go into an area and see more detail, to try to make the game seem bigger was a really cool concept. And
It was.
but
And those that game was hard. I remember some of those side scroll
possible.
stages were just nuts. And yeah, the bosses and like those knights that weren't like whoo, whoo, they stabbed up and down like
Yes.
ain't gonna
Yeah.
get you.
Yeah, you have to do this thing where you're like kind of like jump, stab, and then like push backwards. Yeah, yeah, not fun, not great.
But that was another. It still had an amazing soundtrack. I remember the overworld theme was so like hyped. You're like dun, 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 and so forth.
Yeah,
I can
and
remember it
then
in my head, but I can't. I can't sing it for you.
I actually don't remember that particular theme. I mean, obviously the oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah, yes,
Yeah, it was very like like gets you like kind of pumped a little
it was
bit.
tense. It was
Yeah.
very tense because you were dying to that music every moment. And then the third game was the shirt that you're wearing, A Link to the Past,
Legend of
Super
Zelda, Link to the
Nintendo.
Past.
And we have very diverging experiences with this game because I
Gosh, dude.
had a Sega Genesis, and it was common that that's impressive, that ability you have there. The majority of people had either one or the other, Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. I was a Sega Genesis kid. I played Streets of Rage and Sonic the Hedgehog and
Yep.
Battletoads and those types of games, and unfortunately missed out on.
So you never really had a Super Nintendo?
I didn't have one until.
Wow, what a loser, man.
I know it's a huge gap. It's a huge gap in my gaming.
So that's why you
experience.
never got
Honestly,
to
I've gone
play
back.
this amazing gem then.
Yes, which I've tried to go back and play it along with a bunch of other things like Final Fantasy 3 and Super Metroid and Super Ghouls and Ghosts and to varying levels of success. Oh, and Final Fantasy 2, which is Final Fantasy 4, which is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so I want you to talk about this game because this is your probably your favorite Zelda game, right?
It is definitely my favorite. I mean, it's hard now that we've experienced Breath of the Wild, but I feel like this game, like, kind of was a stepping. I mean, they were all kind of stepping stones, but this especially because Super Nintendo offered so much more. And I think I was fortunate enough to have 4 older brothers. So I had Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. So I got a little bit of both.
Spoiled.
Especially my oldest brother, he was obsessed with video games. So he was buying he was a big Sega dude, and he would buy all the Sega systems. But yeah, when this came out, oh man, I was obsessed with it. And all of my brothers, we'd all get in on it. And I probably must have had like a handful of playthroughs that were just like 100% completion, getting all the items, and just the overall experience was just nothing I had played before. I mean, it goes back to the first game where you have the overworld and you're exploring, and it really set the foundation for future Zelda games because then it introduces like all the different temple elements, like the water temple, sand temple.
Major level up in graphics too. I mean, I remember seeing it and being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe how much better this looks than the original Nintendo version." Because like at the time, it was the pinnacle of graphics. So now you look back at it and you're like, "Oh, that's just 16-bit graphics. Like, what's so special about that?" But it was mind blowing.
Yeah, and the gameplay was so satisfying. It never felt like buggy, or it was just so polished. And then the fact that you go through the whole like the Hyrule overworld, like the light world, I guess, and then you go to the dark world. It like takes a flip, and you can just go back and forth, and that creates like it opens up an entire new areas. Because then if you use that to like go somewhere and then you teleport to the dark world, it'll get you access to different spots, kind of like with A Link Between Worlds, where like you kind of go in between both worlds to get to different areas because you can use those to your advantage. And I actually have the overworld map.
Oh, cool.
That's
actually from this release. That's inside this box.
Oh, it came in that?
Yeah.
Wait, you have like a brand new copy of the game right there?
I do. It's actually not sealed, but it is like a mint in box complete.
Oh, like resealed?
No, this is just a protective case, so the box doesn't get.
And that has this in it.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't realize that this came. This is so. This must be from the game that we had, the original game, because I've had this forever. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And yeah, it just shows the overworld map and then all the different areas. Graveyard. I used to love the graveyard because just pushing the graves and little ghouls
So
and ghosts will come out of it, try to get you.
yeah. And that was in the first game as well. I remember, you're constantly trying to move the graves and you're awakening the ghosts and you can't attack the ghosts. So it was like this risk reward thing where you'd have to like leave the screen.
Oh yeah,
Avoid the like barrage of ghosts. But
yeah. I used to.
yeah, so this game I still haven't finished to this day. I'm in the second half of the game in the Dark World on like Temple 6 or 7 or something like that. Toward the end of the game, I believe. And I'm actually playing it on the SNES Classic,
Okay.
and it's on my backlog list. But
I
the
really
next
wanna-
game was actually my favorite game in the franchise,
Huh?
N64, Ocarina of Time. That was when I really feel like
Oh,
I'm just trying to move the games along because we got a lot of games to go through.
that's true. I was just gonna say I just love all the mechanics in this game. I used to love running, like charging up your run, to go to get.
That was really cool.
And then you
Yeah.
get to a cool part where you can do it for a while, and you're like trying to lag,
Yes.
like go through as many screens as you can.
Yeah, it
Anyway.
was super cool.
Yeah.
The hitboxes were also interesting on that, where you'd kind of go to the side of the enemy and like try to hit him instead of
Oh
trying
yeah,
to hit
yeah.
him on. So the start of kind of having some strategy to the way you do that kind of stuff. But yeah, Ocarina of Time came out on N64, and when N64 came out, I finally got a Nintendo system again, and I kind of started to get to experience those franchises. Then missed out on the PlayStation franchises, so I missed a bunch of the Final Fantasy games and had to play Resident Evil at a friend's house. Never got to complete that until a little later on as well. But that being said, it was well worth it because
Finally get to see Link nude.
yes,
In
in
3D.
polygonal, yeah, and in all of his polygonal glory. No, but this game, like, I mean, up until probably Fallout 3, I would say that this game was probably my favorite game I had ever played. It was so mind blowing. I mean,
Compare those two games though.
what's that?
You can't really compare those two games though. I mean, Fallout.
Well,
3
it's an open world 3D experience.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of scope, like there wasn't anything like I don't even think like a Morrowind or an Oblivion, come close to a Ocarina of Time as far as kind of the level of kind of love and care that was put into it. Whereas I feel like Fallout 3 was the first game that I had really seen that had like just every little detail was kind of ironed out. But anyway, it really was another like jump up. Just the fact that we went from 2D graphics to 3D graphics. You're adding another access for navigation.
Oh, it's such a
so
huge
immersive. It was
Oh, yeah.
so immersive.
Yeah, and with all like all the little elements of gameplay that they had. I mean, obviously the ocarina, of being able to play that, and all the little tunes. Like, it was just fun just to play those songs and learn them on
And you
the.
had a freeform instrument. You could just play it on the controller randomly.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You could just kind of mess around with all the notes and not even play anything. And you have the classic Hey Link, Navi, the introduction to Navi and her little beckoning of Link all the time, and just exploring that entire environment is just like it's just a whole new world, I'd say. In
Yeah,
3D
and
beauty,
and
slingshots.
the temples were all like themed, and it was one of the first games that I remember. I mean, this was true in all the games. You would get an item and it would help you solve puzzles, but you would get an item usually to solve that particular dungeon, which was pretty cool. Whereas I feel like in the earlier games, you would get an item as a reward for the dungeon type thing. So that was a cool piece to it as well.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and it introduced a lot more secret stuff that you have to kind of. I feel like some of it you kind of need guides to really figure out, like timing of the day to do certain events. and lowering the lake. I don't know, a lot of like little stuff to get like certain items and um, what have yous.
Yeah, there was that like pharmacy prescription thing to get that special sword, the like mega sword. I don't know if you remember that, the guy
Yes,
on Goron Mountain.
that was
Uh,
so cool. I used to, even though like that wasn't a long-lived weapon to have, it was just so fun to just mess around with that and bust it out.
yeah, super cool.
That that also had like a time element to it, right? Where you can go into the future.
Yeah, it was the first game I think with the Temple of Time, unless it was in A Link to the Past.
I don't
Well,
think.
actually, it has to be a link, right? You'd think A Link to the Past would have a Temple of Time, but I'm drawing a blank on whether or not that was how you went to the Dark World.
Ooh, let's consult the map here. They have the Tower of Hera.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's where I think that's where you ended up kind of spawning
I
when
don't
you
know
went
if
to
I
the
see
Dark
the
World.
Temple of Time over here.
No, I think you went to. I think it was the church. It was just like a church that was in like the center of the like opposite
Sanctuary.
side of the castle. Yeah, it was like yeah, exactly. Anyway, so the 64 one had Temple of Time, had all that special music. You pull the sword out, you turn into adult because you start the game as Kid Link. You could turn into adult Link. You go outside and it's just like decimated, super macabre. It was super cool.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like with Link to the Past, it just changes up the whole game for you.
Yeah, it was. I didn't really make the correlation that it was kind of a light world, dark world, but it really was. Like
Yeah.
when you go into the Temple of Time as Kid Link, it's like this like bustling marketplace, and there's like people dancing and like there's music playing, and then you come back out, and it's just like those guys who like jump on you and like hug you to death.
Oh gosh, yeah, the little zombie guys.
Yep.
Oh boy, scary.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that game was awesome, and then we got Majora's Mask. I got a little figure of the Majora. Oh yeah,
Very
look at
cool.
go. And did you play that one?
I did another one I didn't finish, and I guess maybe this is a good time to talk about the fact that I have played almost every single Zelda game, not every single Zelda game, but almost every game, and I have this horrible habit of not finishing them. And of
I've
course,
actually,
Joe is at the very bottom of this pile, but
yeah, that's crazy. I know that um, I did finish this one. I think the only one I haven't finished now is Wind Waker. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, Wind Waker is one I actually did finish. Um, I love Wind Waker. I didn't like it when it came out. I didn't like the art style. I didn't like the fact that you were sailing on the ocean.
Yeah,
But I absolutely love it now. It's one of my absolute favorites.
really.
Yeah. How about
Well, Majora's Mask I loved because I just loved how you could change into anything, and then at the end of it, you get like a future Omega level Link mask, and it turns you into Super Link, and he's all like got a weird outfit and a giant infinity looking symbol
yeah,
sword, and you just
I forget what that's called, what that suit is called, but I
uh,
do know what you're talking about.
I think it's a Super Mega level Link.
I think that's incorrect.
Yeah, I
I
think
think that's
that's
actually
also incorrect.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this has
Well,
been fun. I'm gonna
nobody
go.
knows, and there's no way of finding out. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a mystery, and that's been lost to the sands of time. So scholars maintain that.
I had a lot of fun with that game. I know it wasn't well received at the time, but I think it kind of over time it kind of appealed more to people.
Yeah, I mean, well, the fact that you have to kind of race the moon, it was like the Dead Rising of its time, of like, oh, anything that I'm not a big fan of things that have like time limits or like you got to do this in 3 days. It's like,
Right. That's
like,
understandable. And then there's like a whole other like there's so many things of like doing this at this time and you could do it at this time to get this
you miss it.
quest. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's just like it does kind of get a little annoying in that aspect. And it's kind of like, okay, I definitely need a guide to do this because
Yeah.
it's like pinpointing certain
It was like preparing you for all the terrible things in your life that were coming with your work life.
this is yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And then after that we got the Wii game. No.
Well, Wind Waker came
GameCube.
next. Because GameCube
What
came
am I talking
out.
about? Wii. What am I nuts?
Yeah, might as well just jump right to Wii U. Talk about the remasters of the games we haven't talked about yet. Um,
I feel like once after Wind Waker, they Zelda started doing this thing where like we're gonna release it on both systems, the new system and the old system.
yeah,
I
well,
always thought that was kind of weird.
it was because it was in development hell for a while,
Yeah.
and when they meant to release Twilight Princess for GameCube, but it was at the end of the life cycle, and then it came out on Wii. It came out on Wii at the same time, but I actually ended up playing the GameCube version and still think it's the superior version.
I would probably agree with you because that controller was very unique, and I'm sure it plays well with the GameCube controller.
Yeah, and with Wii, they actually flipped the whole thing so to make it more sensible, where you would use your right hand to
Okay.
wave his sword kind of thing. But
Huh.
anyway, we can talk about that in a second. But yeah, I'll talk really quickly
Wind Waker?
around Wind Waker because I know, like you said, you didn't finish that one, but really cool reimagining of the art style. I love the tune art style. Again, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, of course we're going back to Kid Link. Like I wasn't super interested in it. I was a little bit burnt out on putting all this time, because we're talking like years and years and years. I mean, this is over the span of what, like 15 years by that point. But going back and playing it, I really, really liked it a lot. And then when Twilight Princess came out, it felt like a spiritual successor to Ocarina of Time. And I wasn't super big on the changing into the dog mechanic, but over time, I really grew to love that as well, and kind of the puzzles associated with it. And I think they did a really, really good job with that game.
Yeah, I loved the art style that Wind Waker brought, and I'm really sad that I didn't get to play it in its like moment when it came out, because I find it like harder and harder to get back to because I don't even know how to play it now. Like, what would I play it on?
Well, the most recent version that
Wii U?
I've played
The
is,
Wii U?
yeah, the Wii U version.
I kind of want to get a Wii U, to be honest with you again. I
I,
think
you know, Wii U didn't sell very well, but I think it's such a tremendous system. In fact,
and
that's
plus you can.
that's
It's
actually how I played Breath of the Wild, was on Wii U.
that's
I
That's
didn't
what
play
I'm
it on
saying. Like
Switch.
every game, every Zelda game now has come out for both last gen and next gen of the Nintendo console. But
Yeah,
I've been really wanting to get a Wii U again, just because you have the whole Wii library to mess with, and I
Mhm.
kind of miss Wii Fit for some reason. I always loved it, as weird as that is.
I never played Wii Fit, but
Oh man, I was obsessed with that. But that Wii balance board, too many batteries.
oh, you didn't plug in? You couldn't plug it
Oh,
in?
you couldn't. I
Oh,
would
that's
have loved to
wonderful.
plug in, but no,
Wow.
it takes like 8 batteries or something, 6 to 8 batteries or something. It's nuts.
Wow. Elon
It's
Musk would either love or hate that. I don't know where he stands these days with energy
got a
efficiency.
rechargeable batteries. You might be okay with it. I'm surprised Tesla. This is off topic. I'm surprised Tesla hasn't made like a rechargeable like Duracell type battery. Anyway, but
Give it time. Give it time.
Wind Waker, and then yeah, Twilight Princess. I wasn't too keen on those transform abilities either at first, and Twilight Princess as a whole, I wasn't into the aesthetic at first. It was cool that you got this kind of better graphic looking Link. He looks a little more rough around the edges, more of like a badass.
Edgy.
But I don't know. I just kind of wasn't into the game as much for some reason. I still played through it and beat it, but I think it took a while to finish for me. Like I didn't beat it in like say a month's time. It took a while to get through.
Yeah, it was one of those games for me where I started it, probably put 20 hours into it, was probably fairly close to the end, which is what I always do with Zelda games. And then I put it down and then I try to pick it up and be like, oh, I'm so close to the end. I should finish this. And I'm like, I have no idea how to use these controls. I have no idea what these items do. I have no idea where I'm in the map, or I'm like in the middle of a dungeon and I'm like, I have no idea which rooms I've gone through. And I just start the whole game over. But I did start it over and I played it through it. I loved it. It has all the charm and all the little moments. Like, remember like going down like I think you're like snowboarding with like the Yeti guy, and like there's like little
Yeah.
things that have a lot of charm to them that give that kind of Nintendo polish that we were talking
Don't
about
you
earlier. But
don't you get like that spinny top weapon that you can stand on?
so cool.
That
Yeah.
was that was really neat. I like that part of the game where you get to use that a lot. And ooh,
Yeah, it was the one thing I will say about that, and this is like where Twilight Princess kind of falls down, is this is where you started to get items that were solely used to beat a single dungeon and then became pretty close to useless right after you got out of that dungeon. Like that spinny top thing, there was like maybe two or three other places, like if that, that you
Yeah.
could use it outside of that dungeon, but that whole dungeon was all about that spinny top thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think they actually had motion controls for that too. But I think you just swipe down and you can attack. It was like you could change out the controls if you wanted to do like a Wii motion thing, you could. But it was kind
I
of like,
didn't play it on Wii, so I don't know. I played it on GameCube.
yeah, and I was kind of like, why do I want to do this forever?
Yeah, the Wii versions of Zelda, the two Wii versions of Zelda, which is Twilight Princess and I was going to say Sword of Truth, Skyward Sword.
The
I think
sword.
are the worst. They're the worst versions of Zelda, and I'm actually really looking forward to the remaster of Skyward Sword, where you don't have to use the motion controls. I think you can swipe up on the stick
Yeah,
or
that's
swipe
coming
the
out.
direction you want on the stick to do it instead, which I think will be a massive improvement.
Yeah, I think that's coming out soon, isn't it?
It's for the 35th anniversary, I think. So
Oh,
whenever that is,
when
yeah.
is that happening?
I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of this stuff as
That
much,
did
but yeah,
happen.
Skyward Sword was awful. Like I really could not get into it. You had to go out and buy if you had a Wii, that wasn't good enough. You had to go out and buy a Wii Motion Plus controller, or you had to buy an
Oh
adapter
gosh,
for your Switch
yeah.
controller. And then you get into it, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, you're trying to swipe up, and it's thinking that you're swiping right, or you're trying to, it was just, it didn't feel like Wii Motion Plus. I felt like there was no additional kind of.
Wii Motion negative. I totally forgot that they marketed the Wii Motion Plus. I'm like,
Yeah,
really? Wii Motion Plus? You've seen other games that utilized it. Fine. Why did you need a plus version? And they had like, if you didn't have the full-on controller plus
right.
version, you can get like that attachment, I think. But it's
I
like,
know. I
how
said
does
that.
this attachment make it better? How is
Yeah,
this becoming plus time?
yeah,
Please tell me,
yeah.
Mario Man.
Yeah, it was not good. The gameplay itself was super boring for me. Like the art style was like not, it was like ahead of like what the graphics could actually, or what the machine could actually produce for graphics. So it was like trying to do something that it just really didn't have the power to do. So
It
it
was
looked like
like
crap.
they were trying to combine realism with a cartoony Wind Waker-esque style, I guess. Which I didn't hate the look of it, but a lot of like the whole world I wasn't into, and I get what they were trying to do with this as like an origin story, and they all came from the skies for some reason. They fly around on these birds, but the origin story sucks. Like
Wasn't good.
I don't like this origin story. It's like,
No.
and the bird stuff was just like, okay, I'm flying a bird, but where am I going? There's like a couple secret things here and there, but like, get me off of this bird. I don't want to be on this bird anymore.
It's kind of like the BioShock treatment, where it's like you get a one good idea where it's like we're gonna have a city that's underwater. You're like, wow, that's brilliant. And like, you know, they did the Wind Waker thing where it's like we're gonna have him sail the seas, and it's gonna feel like this mass open world. It's like, okay, cool idea. And then they're like, what do we do for the next game? What if we go to the sky?
Oh yeah, we haven't been there yet.
Yeah,
It's just like
It's
it's
like-
like Mario Galaxy, except not really.
yeah.
Where do we take Mario next? They're gonna go to space with Link. He's gonna be super spacey Link.
Well, they ran out of ideas in Mario in the Mario franchise to the point where they put him in a city. It's like, what if Mario just goes to New York?
New Donk City.
Yeah. Which I have mixed feelings about. I loved it, and also was kind of just like, really?
Really? I had no mixed feelings. I absolutely love that, especially that end part with the party, and you're going.
That was really cool. Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. It's good. It was a little jarring though. It's like the weird, like kind of pulling you out of like, you're in Mushroom Kingdom, is how you think of Mario, or like kind of like more of like fantasy oriented, and you just plop in the middle of like a crowded city with people that look nothing like him, by the way. He's like a mutant. They're just like normal
They don't look like him?
renderings of like people, like all the musicians and all the people that are in the city are just normal
Yeah, I know.
like renderings of human beings. And then this is Mario, who's like 3 foot
Me,
nothing.
it makes perfectly sense. I don't know.
He was like a little hobbit running around.
It was odd. It was
Yeah,
odd. I remember
weird.
seeing it for the first time, and I was like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, but it made for some cool gameplay, and it was a good level. But anyway, but yeah, so they went to the sky. They failed. Let's forget that ever happened. Except if the remaster is good, then
It,
maybe
it had its moments, but
uh,
yeah, overall, I agree with you that it's not the best one.
yeah. And then I think that takes us to the newest one, right?
Yeah, you had
Not counting all the ones in between because we've got like A Link Between Worlds, which was
Between
the
Worlds. Yep,
successor to, and these ones are actually remasters of. There's
they
a
had
lot of remasters in Zelda.
a lot of remasters, a lot of handhelds.
Play this one.
I did actually play that a little bit, and I played the one on DS or 3DS. That was a lot of fun. You could play it online. Online, baby.
This was one of the coolest things when I got a GameCube to get.
Dude,
Was like
that's awesome. And is that the one that has what's the one that has the 2 games or 3 games on it that is kind of rare?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's really rare anymore with
Is
the
that it?
internet, but yeah, this is the one. It has the first game, Adventures of Link, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. I mean, that is a powerhouse.
That's why I think it's kind of rare because you have those 4 full games, and that's pretty sick.
Speaking of rare, and of course, the next thing I'm trying to show is now on the new pile, bottom of this pile that I
I
made.
don't like it when you pile things up. You got to stop doing that.
I've made huge mistakes.
Remember when Link went into that pile?
The Four Swords guide, actually, the Link to the Past guide too.
This is what you wanted to go for?
Yeah, no, this is actually what I'm going for.
The
This is actually true.
Past
Right?
guide, I think, is cooler than whatever this thing is.
Well, this is the game the game that you were just saying is really rare. The actual game guide for it, I think, is significantly more rare to come across.
Just a rocking, man.
Look at all the reflective powers it has.
Gotta be
blind you,
reflective. It's kind of like those old Marvel cards. When you get a reflected one, you'd be like, oh.
Yeah. That's exactly what this is like. I'm gonna read this now and stop talking to you. Wow, look at all the secrets they have in here.
Well, this is the end.
Rico Village.
Remember Robot of the Week?
What's that?
Remember?
Well, no, we gotta talk about Breath of the Wild.
Nah, nobody wants to hear it. They've heard enough.
It was really good. It was an open world game, 10 out of 10.
No, Breath of the Wild blew me away. I didn't have a Switch, and my friend was shout out to my friend who to sending me a Nintendo Switch from across the globe, across the state.
You don't have any friends outside the country.
Sent me a Nintendo Switch with Zelda because he knew I just had to play this game. It was so good. I was like, well, that's pretty sick. So I got to play it, and now I have a Switch Lite, which I never touch. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is just like it's kind of like they came full circle, and it's like, what did we do next? We went to the sky, we went to the hell, we went to water, we went to whatever. We're going back to the original, where it's just kind of like we're not telling them what they can do. Just you go out and do your thing. You can do whatever you want. If you want to go kill Ganon within the first few hours of the game, go ahead and try. I dare you.
Do it.
Go
learn how to parry, and you're done. Yeah, they actually, what I really liked about the game is they learned they basically took all of the things that are amazing about a JRPG and all the things that are amazing about a Western RPG, and they mashed them together and took all the bad shit out of both. Mm-hmm. Like every single item you get has a description of like, hey, this is what this item does, and if you want to like do something else with it, here's what else it does. Whereas like you go and you play like The Witcher or Skyrim, and it's like, what do I need a snowberry for? Or like, are loaves of bread important? I don't know. Maybe they will.
Snowberries.
Yeah. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, like you could use like just reasoning to like do things. Like you could use an elemental sword to change your shoe jellies into different elements. You could, light the grass on fire and use the convection to like create a little gust of wind for you to use your little paraglider thing. Like it just like it rewarded you for what's that?
Is that what it's called?
The paraglider, yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, they they really blended both. Like I feel like they just fixed all the things that I don't like about a lot of the Western RPGs, and all the things that like can be kind of tedious about a JRPG. or like the really kind of cheesy exposition that you might get, which is very charming, and I love it in a lot of ways. But they just gave a really good, clean story, really great cinematics, incredible like open world experience, lots of good progression.
Yeah,
And
yeah. All the music was very
yeah,
subtle. And when you get to like those certain moments where you hear the original theme, you're kind of like, "Whoa, yeah."
yeah,
Combat, the weapon, yeah, it's just like
nostalgia,
it's
huge nostalgia
like
bomb.
what's that word? The opus magnum, or whatever.
Very close.
Yeah, very close. What?
Magnum opus.
Magnum, thank you. Magnum. Oh, it's like their
Magnum PI.
magnum opus. If like Zelda was gonna stop, this would be a good game to stop at.
Yeah, it would be. And the second game looks like it's going to continue the same, you know, same aesthetic, same like kind of deep storytelling. So we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely want to actually have a TV console when that comes out.
Buy a
Uh,
TV
yeah,
and a console.
I have the TV.
Okay, that's a good start. Oh,
Yep, they got a classic Magnavox Vox LED, baby.
that eventually there will be some type of like third party adapter that like you take the back of your Switch light off and you're able to like plug it into the TV or something.
I would love that now because it's the processing is close to the same as the regular console one, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, Breath
I
of
think
the Wild,
it's the same thing.
it was. I put a lot of time into that. Yeah, mining all the stuff, getting money saved up.
Did you get the Dark Link costume? That takes forever.
Got Dark Link. I got a lot. I got most of the costumes actually,
Yeah, I'm big on like trying to get them
but
all.
it was kind of like at the end of the game. So I'm like, I don't need these. Like the actual armor pieces are better than any costume is. So
Right.
it's just like a cosmetic at that point. But
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it was still a lot of fun though to kind of go through and explore different aspects of the game. I mean, obviously there's still stuff. I don't think I did all of the saint. What are they called in this?
Shrines. I did actually do all the shrines. I went crazy. I did not get all the Korok seeds. There's like 900 Korok seeds, and I got like 350 something, and I was just like, that is enough. I am done.
And we almost got to see Link nude this time.
I don't remember that, but you
Getting
are
down to
obsessed with violence and nudity.
his boxers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that like in the beginning?
I don't remember. Isn't there an outfit?
Is this just like from like
Maybe I had a dream about it.
I was gonna say, is this like a an
I was kind of hoping
reel?
him and that girl in the inn would get together. A little nervous, the nervous girl that was like, first of all, that lady that was like a main character, and now she's just like this little old.
Oh, Impa?
Yeah, Impa's servant.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Like
had the hots for Link.
yes.
All nervous
She's
around
trying to
him.
move. She's trying to move one of the puzzle balls. And you
Yes.
think it's like this magical artifact, and then you realize they're friggin' everywhere.
Yeah, it's like okay.
Yeah. It's like, oh, way to protect this stupid thing I'm gonna find all over the world.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, revolutionary game. A lot of cool abilities. What'd you say?
So this game sucks.
Yeah, we probably won't put this podcast out. Vidcast.
Find all the apples.
I got some apples. Riding the the different vehicles. Oh, I even got the motorcycle. That was like the last big thing I did was get that motorcycle,
I don't even think I downloaded that DLC.
and that's not even worth it in my opinion. It's cool, but it's like the horse is better.
Did you get a Ponya? You need this to get a Ponya.
No, Pony can suck it.
Well, so let me tell you a quick story,
No,
please. So I the first amiibo, I heard that you needed this to get a Ponya. I already had this from Smash Brothers. I spawn a Ponya in, and then I'm like, okay, let's fast travel to the stable. And when they first released this, Aponia would spawn in once from this amiibo, and then she would never spawn again.
are you serious?
Yes. So
Did you lose her?
I just lost her, and it wasn't until they updated the game because so many idiots like me did that. I thought I could just fast travel to a stable and then register her, but you have to actually ride her to a stable.
Right. Yeah.
So the smart thing to do is go to a stable, spawn a Ponya, and then take her there. I just spawned her out in a field randomly, like somewhere on the map, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just fast travel to a stable," and I lost her.
Yeah, even like trying to like sneak and get horses. It was just like they added all these like mini games that they didn't really need to do. It was just like you can go here and do this, or you can go like wait, can you go fishing? Is there a fishing rod? I
I
know
don't
you can.
remember because if there's fishing, I never do it.
Maybe
I hate
there isn't
fishing.
because I think you can just swim over them. Plus, you can just blow them up. And I love that you have infinite bombs. You just have like that.
So cool.
And yeah, everything about that game was just satisfying. They didn't try to like make it too hard. They didn't try to like overdo it. They just know how to balance their games so well. And this was like a masterpiece of craftsmanship.
Yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10.
Do 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 do.
Cool. Well, should we wrap up? Talk about the robot of the day? Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of Zelda?
Yeah, and I swear to God, if you say robot of the day one more time, I'm gonna friggin' lose it.
Let me ask you a practical question.
Yeah, man.
Is today a day?
Today is the day.
And are we going to talk about a robot?
Weekly.
I know.
We probably
today's
should
the day.
have told them ahead
So
of
when we used to watch, listen, let me make an argument real quick. When we used to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse, it was the word of the day. And I'm pretty sure that show is not on every single day.
Well, they
Probably on weekly.
fucked
And it was
up.
still the word of the day.
They should have done a word of
So,
the week. But anyway, but yes, we moved robot to the end of the episode.
he means robot of the day, everyone.
We moved it to the end of the episode because we think it's better suited there. Don't ask us why. I know you don't care anyway. So
Right. No one's watching anymore at this point. We could just do
no one's watching. We got Metalhead for Robot of the Week. I'm going right into it. Look at this
He is
sweet little
so
Metalhead.
cool.
He's from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise. He was in the cartoon. And NECA made this really cool figure. Here's the box that it came in. Channel 6. He gets, look at that coolness. It's like from the VHS tape.
Yeah. Look at that sweet 90s font. I love that. The mighty
Yes. Oh, yeah. The Mighty Metalhead.
yeah. So was he? I actually don't remember exactly how Metalhead comes into being with Krang. I mean, obviously he's designed to beat the turtles.
Check it out. He's got his drill now.
Oh wow, he's like a big daddy.
So the story behind this guy, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that he had was involved with Shredder, and then he goes to like kidnap Splinter or kill Splinter, and then he befriends him, and then
really?
Yeah, and then check this out. This is
Splinter has a way with turtles.
Yeah, something happens and he becomes his friend, and then he has a vacuum and he can help clean up the sewers. So that's what.
Wow.
Yeah, here's his vacuum.
So he went from like assassin to slave.
Exactly.
Wow.
Look what he's doing to him. He's like, come here. He's got the shovel accessory, which is not. They don't give us a shovel accessory. I don't know why he's got a shovel. Oh, that's supposed to be the
vacuum. The vacuum, dude.
Is he trying to clean him?
Yeah, I think he's cleaning his whiskers. He had some soot on his face.
Well, Splinter doesn't look too happy about it.
Well, I mean, it's tough love. That is pretty neat.
Well, there he is, Metalhead. And sooner or later, this segment will go away altogether, I think.
No, we're going to keep finding robots, and we're going to make new robots.
We're going to end up making robots.
This is junky.
What else have you been doing? Andrew got me into Overwatch, so that's been pretty fun. I finally played it after like 20 years.
Yeah, and you did very well. You
I liked
did your
it.
first.
Had a lot of fun. I like playing as the robot Zen healer, Zenyatta.
Zen healer. Be his name.
Yeah, it was fun. I like it. I'm going to play some more.
Cool. Maybe we go play some right now.
Ooh, maybe.
Let's get out of here.
All right, we're going to go play some Overwatch. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe, rate and review, eat some pizza.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.